Counterfeit magic cards are a huge problem. Not only can they scam you out of potentially hundreds of dollars, but they can also penalize you in tournaments. Back in 2018, Andrew Jessup got a game loss at a Grand Prix due to unknowingly having fake cards in his deck that he bought off of TCGPlayer. Imagine going through all the effort of going to a Grand Prix, of grinding MTGO leagues, traveling for hours, splitting a hotel room with your friends, all just to be given a game loss right away because other scumbags are out to scam innocent people. Unfortunately, counterfeits and cheats will always be trying to scam people. Let's make sure you're not next by knowing what to look out for and how to protect yourself. Last week, I had one of those days that every Magic player knows and loves. Mail day. After waiting all day, I see that mail truck drive up and I rush out to the mailbox and I get all the cards that I ordered from TCGPlayer. Woohoo! I was having a grand old time ripping open envelopes, checking out my new Magic cards when suddenly I opened my new engineered explosives and noticed immediately that something was off. The back of the card just felt wrong. It felt glossy and smooth. Oh no, did I just get a fake Magic card? Time for an investigation. There are many ways to test whether your Magic cards are real and authentic, some better than others. One method is to get a 20x magnification jeweler's loupe and examine the cards in fine detail, checking the printing dots for the right rosette pattern. This method frankly isn't necessary most of the time. It's pretty complicated, takes a lot of time and brain power, and isn't really necessary or worth it unless the card is particularly expensive. Another method is to test the core layer of paper used to print the card. You'll tear the card in half and see if that core layer is blue. This is freaking useless for obvious reasons. You have to destroy the card. That's dumb. FYI, if it is fake, it's almost always going to have a black layer in the middle instead of blue. Luckily, there are better methods to test your cards to see if they're real or fake that are easier and safer than those first two options. When doing these tests, it's always best to have a real card to use for comparison. If you have a real version of the actual card in question, all the better, but it's not necessary. In this case, I do already have a copy of Modern Masters Engineered Explosives. We're going to keep the real version here on the left, and the card in question we're always going to keep on the right. Now, counterfeit cards, they're almost always made out of cheaper material, cheaper paper, that's going to look and feel different. The back of the card is usually going to be pretty glossy, and it's going to reflect light differently. So we'll start with a real card. When it starts to reflect light, it actually absorbs quite a bit of the light and has a fairly dull reflection. And then this other card, usually, now if the card is fake, usually it's going to have a real bright shine, and like you wouldn't even be able to read the card necessarily, so when the light goes over the text of Magic the Gathering, you wouldn't be able to read it. In this case, we're seeing fairly similar reflections, making me think this card might actually be real. Let's move on to the next test. Next is the bend test, which if you've never seen it before, this might make you pretty nervous, but this is done by taking the card and bending it long ways or hamburger style all the way in past the point in half, all the way to where the ends here touch. And then if it's a real Magic card, you should be able to bend it back straight without any major creases or damage. And as you can see here, that's the case. It's pretty flat right now, and it bent back just fine. Now, over time, bending those cards over and over, doing the bend test a million times on the same card will cause some damage. So older cards, it's a little sketchy, but just know it'll be fairly obvious. Fake cards, they'll just leave a real fat crease right here when you do that. So let's do the bend test here. Looking good so far. Can we bend it back into place? Yeah, I don't see, there's no major creases here, right? And put it back flat again. Okay, so it's looking good on the bend test. So far, so good. Now let's go to my personal favorite, the light test. To do the light test, you need any good source of light. The flashlight on your phone will work just fine. And the reason this light test works is it allows us to test how much light penetrates through a card. A real Magic card actually lets quite a bit of light through the card. The reason being is because we have the paper, a real Magic card here made out of different cores, and we have that blue core, right? There's different layers, and that blue core actually lets quite a bit of light through. Typically, fake cards will have a black core that's much more opaque and barely any light will get through. Let's give it a test. Going dark in a closet now to get better lighting here. So to pull this test off, you're just going to have the front of the Magic card facing you. You're going to put your light source on the back, and you should be able to see both sides of the cards at the same time. So again, we have the front of the card facing us, but we can see the back of the card. You can see very clearly here the Magic logo, where it says Magic the Gathering here. Also down at the bottom, you can see where there's that deck master, right? You see that color coming through again. All right, when we pull the light a little further away, you can see the front of the card, and as the light gets closer, boom, look at that. You can see deck master. And then also you can see the oval of the card, right, of the logo really, really well all the way around. So this is the real version of the card and it looks good. Now let's test the potentially fake card. Got the front of the card facing us. Light source, can we read Magic the Gathering? We can see the logo quite clearly. Deckmaster coming through. Oval's looking good all the way around. Okay, this absolutely passes the light test. This card is looking to be real after all. It turns out that the back of this card just felt a little off, but it appears to be a real card. But what if it's not? What can you do? First, try to avoid this altogether by making sure that you're always buying online cards from reputable sources. If your seller has no reviews and the username is daddylikesmoney69, good luck. Second, always make sure you're examining your cards. Don't just open them up, shove them into sleeves, and rush off to your next F&M. Take a few minutes, make sure they seem legit, and if they start to seem fake, run them through the tests we explored. Third, because you did buy from a reputable source, they'll make it right. Just reach out to the seller. Yeah, it's a bit of a pain, it's kind of annoying, but hey, it's way better than just being stuck with your counterfeit cards and sadness. So even though Andrew Jessup reportedly got fake cards from TCGPlayer, and for a moment I thought I did too, I'll continue to shop with them because I have confidence they'll make things right in case things go wrong. Make sure you destroy the like button and join the Wolf Pack if you haven't already by hitting subscribe. Wolves are sick, who wouldn't want to be one?